Stand with your feet a little wider than hip distance apart. To initiate irradiation, press your feet firmly into the ground, make fists with your hands, lock your knees and elbows straight, and tense the muscles around the bones in your arms and legs. Hold your pelvis steady and neutral, neither tilted forward nor back. Stiffen your spine by stretching up through the crown of your head as you reach down through your tailbone. Let's begin with your neck. Start with your chin parallel to the ground, neck long, eyes open, and looking forward. Gaze down the tops of your cheeks, around the back of your neck, vertebrae by vertebrae, as if peeling your neck off a sticky wall. Turn your gaze toward your right shoulder as you drag your chin along your collarbone. Aim your gaze up toward the sky and begin to trace a line on the ceiling with your nose. Reach the crown of your head back as you guide your gaze and nose to the left. Turn your eyes and chin down toward your left shoulder, then trace your chin along your left collarbone as you return to center. Finish with restacking the spine. Let's repeat 2 more times in this direction. Keep your upper back and shoulders still and round through your neck, tucking your chin in and up. Keep chest facing forward and shoulders still as you trace your chin along your collarbone. Resist thrusting lower ribs forward as you turn your gaze up and trace your nose along the ceiling. Drop your gaze and your chin towards your left shoulder, then graze your chin along your left collarbone, finishing at center to restack the spine. 1 more time on your own. Be sure to use 10 to 20% irradiation to hold tension throughout the rest of your body to allow for movement only in your neck. Remember to just graze the edges of sensation, no pain, and keep your breath steady throughout. Now, let's switch the direction and rotate the neck to the left. Upper chest is lifted, neck long, gaze forward. Keep upper back and shoulders still and move your forehead towards your chest, rolling your chin in and up towards your throat. Keep your shoulders relaxed away from your ears and graze to the left and trace your chin along your collarbone. Keep your hips and shoulders still and avoid thrusting the bottom ribs forward. Turn your gaze up and trace a line with your nose to the right. Point your gaze and your nose towards your right foot, and then graze your chin along the right collarbone to finish with restacking your spine. 2 more times on your own. Keep your breath slow and steady with your eyes open. Notice how much you move other parts of your body as you go through the rotation, and make a mental note of these tendencies. Be sure to maintain 10 to 20% of tensing throughout the rest of the body to help prevent movement in joints outside of your neck. If you feel discomfort, remember to just graze the edges. There's no need to force a movement that's not currently there. Next, we will focus on isolating joint movement and rotation throughout the rest of your spine. Remember to graze through regions that cause discomfort. Keep your legs in a broad stance. Cross your arms over your chest, resting palms on the opposite shoulders. Continue to irradiate through your legs, especially your pelvis, to keep those regions as still as possible. Begin by folding your upper chest towards your belly to round through your upper back, and then continue to round through your mid-back and lower back, 1 vertebrae at a time. Turn the left side of your rib cage towards your right foot, rolling your right side back. Maintain this rotation and side bend to the right, pushing your ribs off to the left. Rotate your left shoulder back and angle the top of your chest toward the sky. Begin to drop your left shoulder towards your left pocket as you push your ribs to the right to side bend. Rotate the right side of your ribs down toward your left foot as the left side shifts backward, and then return to the rounded forward position before slowly stacking upright, 1 vertebrae at a time. Let's move again to the right. Since each vertebrae moves separately as you round through your spine from the top down. Resist your hips shifting backward. Keep knees locked, thigh muscles tensed, and pelvis still, and rotate your left ribs and chest to face your right foot. Keep your pelvis steady and begin to tilt to the right. Rotate the left ribs open to stack your shoulders. Keep the bottom ribs in and resist hips thrusting forward as you lift your upper chest toward the sky. Keep your lower body locked in place and shift your rib cage to the right to side bend to the left. Rotate your spine and ribs to face the left foot before rounding back to center, and then complete the movement stacking upright, 1 vertebrae at a time. Complete 1 more spinal rotation to the right on your own. Remember to keep your breath steady and calm throughout, and your lower body locked in place using irradiation at 10 to 20% of your max effort. Begin to notice where you try to borrow movement from, whether it be shifting the shoulders or the hips or the ribs thrusting, and try to resist this extra movement. Now let's switch the direction and rotate the spine to the left. Irradiate through your legs and pelvis and switch the cross of your arms. Round through your upper back, folding your head and chest towards your belly, moving one vertebrae at a time from upper to lower back. Resist moving the pelvis or bending the knees, and rotate the right side of your rib cage toward your left foot. Without letting the hips shift sideways or back, side bend to the left, pushing your ribs off to the right. Rotate your right side body up and stack your shoulders. Continue to irradiate to prevent the hips and ribs from thrusting forward and reach the top of your chest towards the sky. Keep the hips centered as you side bend to the right, and then rotate your chest to face your right foot. Return to the flexed or rounded position forward before slowly standing upright, stacking one vertebrae at a time. Complete 2 more spinal rotations to the left on your own. Notice how much you move other parts of your body as you go through these rotations, and make a mental note of these tendencies. Remember to maintain a 10 to 20% of irradiation or tensing throughout the rest of your body to help prevent movement in joints outside of your spine. Continue to keep your breath slow and steady and your eyes open. The shoulder blades form a joint with our rib cage. The tendency may be to move the spine, especially between the shoulder blades, to feel like we're moving our shoulder blades more. Try to resist this movement and just glide the shoulder blades along the rib cage. Irradiate by making tight fists and lock your elbows straight. Tighten all your arm muscles and line up your hands with the side of your body. Begin by shrugging your shoulder blades up towards your ears, elevation. Without flaring your ribs forward, squeeze your shoulder blades in towards the spine, retraction. Glide the shoulder blades down the rib cage, bottom tips down towards your back pockets, depression. Resist rounding the spine as you shift your shoulder blades forward along the sides of the rib cage, protraction. Keep your neck long and roll the shoulder blades back up. Without arching your upper back, pinch your shoulder blades towards your spine. Keep ribs in and glide your shoulder blades down. Keep neck long and shift shoulder blades forward along the sides of the ribs. Move through 1 more rotation in this way on your own. Keep the spine still, the neck long, and your breath relaxed and your body still. Let's change the direction. Start with your shoulder blades lifted up towards your ears and roll your shoulder blades forward, gliding them down the sides of the rib cage, and then pinch them in towards the spine and return them up. Repeat 2 more times in this direction. Try to keep your shoulder blades connected to your rib cage throughout these rotations. Notice how much you try to move your upper spine and neck to feel like you're gaining more movement, and resist this. Let's move on to the ball and socket joint of the shoulders. We will focus on isolating joint movement and rotation in one shoulder joint at a time. Remember to listen to your body and avoid forcing movement that is limited and or painful. Just graze the edges. Stand upright, right arm at your side. Cross your left arm over the bottom of your rib cage and use your hand to monitor movement here. Lock your right elbow and wrist flat and glue your fingers and thumb together. Rotate your upper arm bone away from your body so the thumb side and palm face out. Lift your right arm diagonally across your body toward the left. Continue to raise your arm upward, bringing your bicep beside your right ear, arm straight and fingers reaching up. Pause and rotate your upper arm away from your head, thumb side of your hand points forward, palm out. Stretch the arm back, extending it behind you, palm facing floor. Guide your arm back beside your body, allowing your upper arm to rotate in towards your body and the thumb side of your hand to point backward. Let's repeat again in this direction. Keep your elbow and wrist locked straight, fingers and thumb glued. Keep tops of the shoulders down and resist leaning to the side, and rotate your arm away from your body and lift it horizontally across your chest. Keep neck long and head, hips, and shoulders still as you reach your arms straight by your ear. Pause and rotate your upper arm and palm forward, then out. Keep your chest facing forward and your spine upright as you reach your arm behind you, palm down. Complete the rotation, rolling your arm bone in as your arm returns to your side. Repeat this rotation one more time on your own. Remember to breathe steady and keep your breath relaxed. Notice if you're rotating your torso or moving your head out of the way or arching your spine to compensate for lack of shoulder joint movement. Keep all movement to a minimum. Now, we're going to repeat the motion in the other direction with the same arm. Keep your upper arm rolled in, thumb pointing back and palm facing out. Extend your straight arm behind you as far as you can. Pause and roll upper arm away from your body. Thumb side will roll out and point up. Reach your arm behind and up to bring your bicep beside your ear. Fingertips reaching up, palm facing the wall behind you, thumb side pointing out. Stretch the arm forward, down, and to the left to cross it in front of your chest, palm up. Complete the rotation with your arm at your side. Let's repeat again in this direction. Roll upper arm back in, thumb pointing back, palm facing out. Stretch your neck long. Resist tops of the shoulders dumping forward or spine rounding and extend your straight arm backward. Pause, roll your upper arm away from your body. Watch for movement in the neck and spine as you reach your arm back and up to beside your ear. Resist leaning to the side as you stretch the arm forward, down, and to the left, crossing it in front of your chest with palm up. Complete the rotation with your arm at your side. Do one more in this direction. Continue to pay attention to how you move other areas. Common areas to gain movement is the spine, your torso, or the shoulder from the other side, lifting or shifting. Continue irradiation to stabilize your body. Let's switch to the left shoulder joint. Take a broad stance and irradiate your body 10 to 20% max effort. Stand upright, cross your right arm over the bottom of your rib cage. Lock your left elbow and wrist straight at your side and glue your fingers and thumb together. Rotate your left upper arm bone away from your body, palm facing out. Lift your left arm diagonally, crossing your body toward the right. Reach your straight arm upward, bringing your bicep along your left ear, fingers reaching up. Pause. Rotate your upper arm away from your head, thumb side forward and palm out. Stretch the arm back, extending your arm behind you, palm facing the floor. Guide your arm back towards your side body, upper arm rotating in, thumb back and palm out. Let's repeat 2 more times in this direction. As you move, notice if your torso, your spine, or your neck shifts or moves when you don't have mobility in the shoulder joint. Try to minimize this and limit the motion just to the ball and socket joint. Keep your breath steady and calm as you continue your shoulder joint rotation. Now we're going to repeat this motion the other direction with the same arm. Keep your upper arm rolled in, elbow and wrist locked straight. Stretch your neck long. Keep your shoulders still and your spine long. Extend your straight arm behind you. Pause. Roll your upper arm away from your body, thumb side up and palm up. Watch for movement in the neck and spine as you reach your arm back and up, lifting your arm to your ear. Reach fingers up and rotate the palm toward the wall behind you, pointing thumb side out. Resist leaning to the side and stretch the arm forward and down to cross your chest, palm facing up. Complete the rotation, rolling your upper arm away from your body and return to your side. Repeat 2 more times in this direction on your own. Always pay attention to how you try to move other areas, such as your spine, your chest, your torso, your head, to compensate for shoulder movement. Minimize this, limiting the motion just to the ball and socket joint. Remember to continue a radiation in your lower body to stabilize the legs and pelvis. Continuing down the arms, we'll move down to the elbows next. Irradiate through your body, legs strong, spine long and stiff. Start with your arms by your sides, elbows straight, wrists locked stiff, and fingers long and glued together. Turn your palms to face forward. Bend your elbows to lift the forearms towards your biceps. Palms face your shoulders. Rotate your forearms to face your palms forward and then straighten your arms. Palms will face backward. Rotate your forearm to flip your palms forward again. Avoid cupping your hands or separating your fingers as you rebend your elbows to where your palms face your shoulders again. Rotate your forearms and re-straighten your arms. Keep wrist flat throughout. Repeat one more time in this way. After the third cycle, return to your arms straight. Rotate your forearms so your palms face the wall behind you. Bend your elbows, bringing your forearms towards your biceps with your palms facing forward. Rotate your forearms so your palms face your shoulders. Straighten your arms. Rotate your forearms and complete this movement 2 more times. Pay attention to what your wrist, fingers, and neck are doing throughout this movement. Try to limit the movement just to your elbows and your forearms. Continue to keep your elbows glued to your sides throughout the movement. Next, we move down the arms to the wrists. To make this movement easier, you can do it one wrist at a time. Bend your right elbow to 90 degrees, keeping it against your side. Rotate your forearm so the palm faces up. Hold your lower forearm still with your opposite hand. Keep your fingers and thumbs locked straight and glued together, and try not to cup your palm during the rotations. Begin by folding up at your wrist so your fingertips point straight up. Then rotate your wrist joint in a circle by tilting your hand toward your thumb side. Drop the back of your hand toward the floor until your fingertips point down towards the floor. Then tilt your hand in towards your pinky side before lifting your palm back up so the fingers point straight up to complete the rotation. Complete this rotation 2 more times in this direction. As you're moving, notice if you try to separate or bend your fingers or thumb. Notice if you cup your palm or rotate your forearm. Imagine you have a cup balanced on the lower part of your forearm and you don't want to spill it. Now, rotate your wrist 3 times in the opposite direction. Be sure to keep the fingers and thumbs glued together and the palm flat. Now, on to the other wrist. Bend your left elbow to 90 degrees, keeping it against your side. Rotate your forearm so your palm is up and hold the forearm still with your opposite hand. Keep fingers and thumb locked straight and glued together. Fold up at the wrist so your fingertips point straight up. Tilt your hand towards your thumb side, and then drop the back of your hand toward the floor, pointing fingertips down. Begin to tilt your hand in towards your pinky side, and then lift your palm so the fingers point straight up to complete the rotation. Do this rotation 2 more times in this direction. Notice each time you try to separate or bend your fingers or thumbs, or to cup your palm. Notice if your forearm tries to rotate to get the movement, and keep the forearm still. Rotate 3 times in the opposite direction. Let's move on to the lower body. We'll begin with the hips. Like shoulders, hips are ball and socket joints that allow for a lot of movement. Often, when you lack range of motion in a joint, you borrow it from another area of the body. It's very common in the hip joint. Most of us will move our pelvis and spine in all types of directions, giving us the sense that we're moving our hip joint more than we actually are. Remember to practice irradiation throughout the rest of the body to limit this. This one, as with all exercises, will get better with practice. Stand next to a wall or something you can hold on to for balance, but resist leaning into it. Balance on your left leg and irradiate through your body to stand strong. Keep your right knee straight, your leg locked firm, and the ankle flexed. Rotate your right leg away from your body to point your toes out. Lift and guide your leg diagonally toward the left side of your body. Bend your right knee and flex at your hip. Align your knee with the front of your right hip. Keeping your hip points facing forward, move your leg out toward the right side of your body. Pause and internally rotate your hip to point the knee forward as your foot and shin rotate backward. Circle the knee toward the wall behind you to extend at your hip joint. End with bringing your right leg back to center with your knees together and then straighten your knee. The second time through, notice where you're borrowing range from. Place your hand on your left hip to monitor any shifts that happen here. Rotate the leg away from your body so toes point out. As you lift your leg forward and across your body, does your left hip move into your hand? Bend your right knee and flex at your hip. Does your hip move away from your left hand to hike your right pelvis higher? Guide your right leg and knee out to the side. Resist rotating your pelvis backward or arching your low back for more movement. Hold your knee still and rotate in your hip joint to point your knee forward and your foot and shin back. How much did you move your pelvis and spine? Were you able to limit the movement just to your hip joint? Round your knee back behind you and notice if you're tilting your pelvis forward or arching your lower back to kick the leg back further. Finally, return your knee beside your left thigh as you straighten your leg to the starting position. Repeat this movement pattern one more time in this direction on your own. Let's go in the opposite direction. Continue to balance on your left leg and irradiate throughout the rest of your body. Keep your right ankle flexed, leg locked, and knee straight. Internally rotate your right leg from the hip joint so your toes face inward. Extend your leg behind you. Bend the knee so it points to your left thigh with your foot and shin rotating away from your body. Moving from your hip joint, reach your leg behind you and begin to roll your knee away from your body, ending with your leg out to the side. Keeping your knee bent and hip flexed, cross your leg in front of your body and then straighten your knee and return to the starting position. Now that you have the hip movement, let's pay attention to how the rest of your body tries to help. Irradiate through your left leg and spine as you extend your right leg behind you and bend your knee. What happens to your upper body and pelvis? Keep them still. As you rotate your knee out to the side, does your upper body lean to the left and your pelvis hike up? Resist this. What happens as you rotate your hip out? How does your pelvis and spine want to help? Can you limit this? As you cross your knee out in front of your body, do you feel your low back start to round and your pelvis tuck? Minimize this. Return your leg to a straightened position and try this direction one more time on your own. Remember to keep the breath steady and continue to irradiate through those still parts as you go through your hip rotation. What do you notice? Now for the left hip joint. Balance on your right leg and irradiate throughout your body standing strong. Begin with your left knee straight and ankle flexed. Rotate your left leg out and bring your leg forward and guide it diagonally to the right and notice if the pelvis shifts or drops. Resist hiking your hip as you bend your left knee and flex your hip. Align your knee with the front of your hip. Keeping hip points facing forward, guide your leg out to the side, pause and rotate your knee forward with the foot and shin rotating backward. What is happening in your pelvis and low back as you do this? Draw a circle with your knee, extending your leg behind you. Minimize arching in your low back and flexing at your right hip joint. Return your leg back to center with your knees together, then straighten the knee. Repeat this rotation in this direction 2 more times in your left hip joint on your own. Be mindful of any additional movements you make throughout the rest of your body. Keep your breath even and steady. Remember to use irradiation in your standing leg, in your spine, in your shoulders, and your chin in and long to keep the body as still as possible. Now for the opposite direction. Continue to balance on your right leg, left ankle flexed, leg locked and knee straight. Resist extra movement in your pelvis and low back. Internally rotate your left leg so toes face in. Extend your leg behind you and bend the knee, aiming it towards your right thigh with foot and shin rotating out. Reach your leg behind you and then roll the knee out away from your body, ending with your leg out to the side without leaning or hiking the pelvis. Keeping your knee bent and hip flexed, cross your leg in front of your body and then straighten your knee and return to the starting position. Try this direction 2 more times on your own. Continue to irradiate at that 10 to 20% max effort. And remember to avoid areas where you feel discomfort and just graze the edges of sensation. What do you notice? Where does your body try to move to increase movement in the hip? Now, let's go all the way down to the toes. Press the knuckles of your big toe and pinky toe into the ground and keep the weight centered in your heels. Lift all of your toes off the ground and spread them far apart. Try to stretch each toe as long as possible as you slowly bring them back down to the ground. Next, keep all your smaller toes stretched long on the ground as you lift only your big toes. Tap the big toes back down and then lift it up again a few more times. As you do this, try to resist scrunching up the toes that remain on the ground. Now, keep your big toes on the ground and lift and stretch all the other toes apart. Try to keep them long as you tap them down and up several times. Remember to keep the weight even on the ball of your big toe and all the other knuckles with the weight centered in the heel. Now, lift and stretch all of your toes apart while maintaining contact with the balls of your toes on the floor. Keep your other toes up as you begin to tap just your big toes down and up a few times. Notice what happens to those toes that are remaining up and make a note of it. Now, keep your big toes lifted as you tap and stretch all the other toes down and up. Finally, lift all of your toes and try to stretch and tap the big toes and the pinky toes down first before releasing all the other toes down. Try this a few more times. We will complete the lower leg section sitting on the ground. If sitting on the ground is uncomfortable, you can do it on a hard-seated chair, a cushion, or a yoga block, or you can remain standing. We'll start with the right leg and complete the last 3 joints on that leg before repeating it on the left leg. Let's begin with the kneecap. Straighten your right leg on the ground and relax your thigh muscles. Use your fingers and hands to move your kneecap in a circle one direction 3 times. You can push the knee out to the furthest edges of that circle that you're comfortable with. After you've completed the circle in one direction, repeat the movement going in the opposite direction 3 more times. Now let's move on to the knee joint itself. Bend your right knee towards your chest with your heel resting on the ground in line with your right sit bone. Interlace your fingers over the front of your knee, placing the heels of your hands around the outside of your knee to hold your upper leg still. Dorsiflex your ankle, pulling your toes towards your shin to lock the ankle still. Begin to rotate the lower leg in and out several times, keeping your ankle locked still. Think of your foot as a windshield wiper going in and out. You may feel the movement of the small outer leg bone underneath the heel of your right hand. The next time you rotate your lower leg out, move your ankle as well by reaching your big toe to tap the floor. When you rotate the lower leg in, try to reach with your pinky toe to tap the floor. Do this a couple of more times. First, feeling the rotation of your lower leg bone, and then allowing your ankle to rotate out and in as you stretch the toes to tap the floor. Let's move on to knee flexion and extension with a little bit more ankle rotation. Link your right forearm underneath your right knee to pull your thigh towards your belly, lifting the foot off the floor and flexing at the hip deeply. Reach your right arm across your body to grab above your left elbow, then reach the left hand to grasp the outside of your right knee to keep your upper right leg still. Point your toes by stretching the top of your ankle. Move towards straightening your knee. Flex your ankle, pulling your toes towards your shin, and rebend the knee. Straighten and bend the knee a couple of more times with the ankle flexing and stretching in this way. The next time you straighten your knee, keep your toes pointed, then rebend your knee. Flex the ankle and straighten your knee. Repeat like this 2 more times. Now let's add rotation into the ankle as you continue to bend and straighten the knee. Imagine you're drawing a circle with your toes, rotating your ankle 3 times in each direction as you continue to bend and straighten your knee. Let's finish up with the left lower leg. Straighten your left leg on the ground and relax your thigh muscles. Use your fingers and your hands to move your kneecap in a circle in one direction 3 times. Then repeat this movement going in the opposite direction 3 times. You can graze through those outer edges of how far the kneecap can move. Onto the knee joint itself. Bend your left knee towards your chest with your heel resting on the ground in line with your right sit bone. Interlace your fingers over the front of your knee, placing the heels of your hands around the outsides of your knees to hold your upper leg still. Flex your ankle, pulling your toes towards your shin to lock the ankle still. Begin to rotate just the lower leg in and out several times. The foot is a windshield wiper going in and out. Feel for that movement of the small outer leg bone underneath the heel of your left hand. The next time you rotate your lower leg out, try to reach with your big toe to tap the floor. When you rotate the lower leg in, try to reach with your pinky toe to tap the floor. Do this a couple of more times. Now on to knee flexion with some ankle movement. Link your left forearm underneath your left knee to pull your thigh towards your belly, lifting the foot off the floor and flexing at the hip deeply. Reach your left hand across your body to grab above your right elbow, then reach the right hand to grasp the outside of your left knee, keeping your upper leg still. Point your toes by stretching the top of your ankle and move towards straightening your leg up. Flex your ankle and pull your toes towards your shin, then rebend the knee. Straighten and bend the knee a couple of more times with the ankle moving in these directions. The next time you straighten your knee, keep your toes pointed and rebend your knee. Flex the ankle and then straighten your knee. Repeat 2 more times. Now let's add rotation of the ankle as you continue to bend and straighten the knee. Draw a circle with your toes, rotating your ankles 3 times in each direction.